everyone, and welcome back to Bear's Reading Nook. I'm Kara, and today we're doing a fun little vlog. So this is kind of gonna start a series of sorts where basically I kind of check out different types of books, whether it be genre or like different tropes in books, to see if I like them. As of right now, the series is just called Do I Like Blank? And for this first episode of this new series, we're checking out some horror books. And it's kind of like there's a variation of how much horror it may actually be, but there are 3 books that I want to read. Okay, so the first book that I want to read in this video is Doubt, Volume 1. So this basically follows the mobile game of Rabbit Doubt, which has taken Japan by storm, and a group of people who play that game that end up meeting in real life to hang out. At some point during the hangout time, they end up unconscious, and when they wake up, they are in an abandoned building of sorts, and they're playing the game for real. It sounds really interesting, and based on the cover, oh, that's graffiti. I legit thought that that was blood this whole time, but it does look kind of like spooky, scary type of horror, so we'll see if this is, but I'm looking forward to that. This one is a chunkier manga, and I'm excited to try it out. Next, we have a really small classic, which is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which I've never actually read. I don't really know what it's about, to be honest. I think it was like one person had like 2 different personalities, but I could be completely wrong. But this seems like a spooky book, and I believe on Goodreads it was listed as horror as well as this one. So we'll see how that goes. I'm intrigued by this, and it's really short, so that should be fun. Okay, so the next book on this list is Jurassic Park. This was listed as both thriller and horror, so we'll see if it actually ends up being horror. But this one is one that I'm intrigued to see how the author kind of like builds the environment and the like fear of the dinosaur escape and attack. I'm interested to see how that happens. I haven't read a lot of like environmentally like built books, if that makes any sense. I'm excited to see how I feel about books that have like a focus on the environment being built. Okay, so I finished Doubt, and I'm not a fan of it. So basically, I already talked about in the intro what this is, but a group of people meet offline to hang out after they had kind of met up and played a mobile game, and they end up all getting like they go unconscious, and when they wake up, they're in an abandoned building. And that premise sounded really interesting. However, the execution wasn't great for me. To me, it was very reminiscent of like the Saw movies, and I wasn't a fan of it feeling recycled, even if it was its own take of that kind of thing. And this felt like there were art panels that were spooky. However, this felt more like gore than horror, in that like they had various like drawing panels or whatever of like limbs that were like severed, or like of a dead body, or like close-ups of other kind of like more like gross gory type things. And like they weren't too gory, but my gore threshold isn't the highest, so for me, I was not a fan of this one, and I don't plan on continuing on with the series. So yeah, this one, nope. It also didn't really feel horror-y. Like, I wasn't really scared. I was more intrigued by the mystery than scared by what was actually going on. So it didn't feel horror to me. Okay, so I read Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and I didn't feel the spook. Like, for me, I definitely felt like the tension building of, like, who is, Mr. Hyde? Like, what's going on? Why is he like this kind of thing? And, like, that tension. But I almost feel like if the entire story was written through Jekyll's perspective and then maybe the end, like, either was from Hyde's or, like, was from an outside perspective, I almost feel like that would have been better than having it all be from the perspective of a friend of Jekyll. And, like, I get what the author was trying to do with, like, having it be from an outsider, but I didn't feel the spookiness. And then I read, like, the perspective from Jekyll, and, like, that's when I felt the spookiness. Like, I'm so upset. So that, I think, ended up being, like, a 2 or 3 star for me. Like, it was fine. It's probably a 3 star. It was, like, fine, but I wanted to be spooked and I wasn't. And now I'm sad. But I still have one more book, I think, which is Jurassic Park, which is listed as thriller and horror, so we're gonna go with it. This one will probably be more like atmospheric potential horror, if it is at all. But I'm excited to at least try and see if I can get spooked by one book. But I'll let you know how that goes. Okay, so I finished Jurassic Park. Let's talk about it. So basically, Jurassic Park is basically following the story of various people as they go to an island and kind of like get a feel for it and see if it should exist or not. Basic premise of the book. There are dinosaurs, they figured out a way to recreate dinosaurs, and they're on this island, and the people are there to see if the island is safe or not, basically. And so in this book, I think I've already talked about it in the Japanese Pantheon video, which I will link up there. Basically, it was a slower start. It didn't really seem to kick off until around like 120 pages in. It wasn't the best overall book. Like, I didn't really enjoy it, but for like the purposes of finding out like horror and horror elements that I like, this one was the best that I've read for this video. So yeah. And basically all of the horror elements kind of came in like the second half, or like after the halfway mark of the book. I can't exactly remember where it started, but basically there were moments where I was just like, oh crap, like stuff's getting real, like oh boy. Which was nice. There were various ways that they described like dinosaurs kind of like peeking, or like hiding, or like various sounds that are probably not what they sound like. Also the way that different interactions were described, whether it be between different dinosaurs, potentially dinosaurs and people, just like how those interactions were portrayed in certain aspects were kind of like horror-ish, as well as describing dead bodies and potentially how they died. Those things were all like really good for me as far as like hitting the part of like horror that I potentially like. Some of it was a little much for me, but I mean, I'm not necessarily into like body horror type of stuff, and I know that. So it was, for me, some things were like right on the edge as far as like how some things were described, but overall I still enjoyed the, like, to me, the horror aspects that were in this. I look forward to trying again, not only with horror, but with other various things, because as I think I said in the beginning, I am starting this as a series. So look out for that in the future, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!